I have seen and in my experience seen the collective going through a massive ascension, another upgrade. This is another shedding of the layer, but this goes really deep into the depths of the heart. This is where I'm being told this is a call to action to come closer to God, okay? Closer to the godlike frequency within self is what was just said, okay? No longer are you allowed to put yourself on the shelf, all right? Like, it's literally about allowing your soul and your heart and the alignment of that 1.10 hertz is what they're showing me. But this is more of a call to action where you actually now are seeing the clarity of the when, why, what, and how is what was just said. You're now having the clarity of the when, why, what, and how. So this is also giving me the euphoric energy within my root that's making me want to go, that's making me want to do something different, that's making me want to do something new. A lot of you are getting pushed and moved outside of your comfort zone because your life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So there's another deeper like shedding of a layer, and this is very personal. It's very interpersonal here. So this is very sacred to your spiritual journey, your shamanic journey is what's being said here, okay? This is very sacred. It's not about shedding of like, okay, it really is not about shedding of a piece of an ego is what they're giving me here. You could call it that, but they're really not portraying it as that right now. It's really more or less about this in-depth piece of your heart that's like your soul is and your heart is literally what's going to make everything start is what was just said. Your heart, the purity of your soul. It's like some of you have hearts the size of like Saturn and like Jupiter, but yet it's inside your tiny little body like this. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not about giving, and so you had to learn how to not give too much. But this is all what's been done. This is all what's been transcended, is what was just said, and now it's time to have some fun. So we have a little bit of a cheeky ancestral role that's coming in here and speaking to you guys too, interchangeably through the creator as well, and through a couple of my guides here as well with us today. So in this play, they're letting the gate open and they're letting some come in and out and channel through me. So it's kind of funny, but in this aspect, it's cool because I know who they belong to too. So in this aspect, I want you to know that there is like this very deep layer of shedding of this skin that's going on. And it's not, you know what it is? I'm gonna be real with you exactly what it is. It's a spiritual identity crisis, and it's you coming back to God for what God is to you and how God works in your life and how God works through you. And that's exactly what was just said. It's a spiritual identity crisis, and that deepest layer is what's being shed. And this is something that's going on collectively to bring you all home to the awareness of what you ought to be and not what you were made supposed to be. And so this is more of a God complex. This is more you coming closer to the creator, almost as if like the creator's putting you underneath its wing, okay? The divinity in all things. It's like now you're seeing the divinity and the intertwining because they're needling the thread together right now, okay? Of how everything has intertwined, like the depths of the layer of the dream catcher is what was just said by my tribe. So it's like you're finally understanding the layers of the depths of the heart that you've had to shed and how you have had to become closer to connected to the creator. All right, this is a huge entrance. It's almost as if like you're being adorned. Thank you. You're being adorned, or some would say crowned, to enter the gates of, you know, the pearly heaven is what was just said. And this is you being able to bring your heaven to earth. Your heaven to earth. This is how you are in flow to bring your heaven to earth is what was just said. So a lot of people are fighting. Yeah, this is activation all the way, man. And there's a lot of solar flares and there's a lot of, ooh, this is cool. They said solar flares and time gaps. So a lot of you may be missing time because you're jumping so much is what's being said here. So they literally said activation and they said time jumps. So that to me is telling me, and they're giving me the feeling of the polarity of the back and forth between the helping of those who need your help, and then the ascension process of where you truly sit and are. So this is more about that call to action of the new activations within your cellular level, okay, coming from the solar flares and coming from the activations that have been hit. Now, also, there was a flare that occurred that they're showing me that was very active, that was very heavy, that was very pronounced. And they're telling me we haven't had a flare like that in decades is what they said. So they said decades to me. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just delivering the message. So go do the research for me, somebody, in that context, because I always like to back it up. So they're showing me that, like, we just recently had solar flares or something, or a magnitude of something that hit the sun that literally popped off and hit us directly from the sun. And this is something that literally activated more cellular DNA inside of your interstellar connection and your light body too along the way. Okay? Whoo. It's always darkest before the dawn is what was just said. It's always darkest before the dawn. So some of you that are going through tower moments can be something such as a realization. A realization. So tower moments can be something such as a realization, but how you allow that realization to make you move, to make you feel, what you put your energy into about that realization is what's going to make the movement move for you. So it's about your action and your call to action rather than your call to reaction is what they're telling me here. So the solar flares have ignited this new cellular interstellar connection, and it's brought you closer to the creator and how the creator shows up for you in your life and how the universe works through you and how your team works through you. This is very interpersonal because everybody's spiritual journey is very sacred, not only to who they have been, but where they come from and who their lineage is. So it literally does have to happen differently in different ways and different places for everyone. And that is why no one here is an individual, but yet we are all interconnected and intertwined. And that's why some of us have the understandings that we have it, but then others have the deeper understanding of the cause of coming together. And so this is like where this depth of this layer of this activation has occurred to where you are now moving in unspoken word is what was just said. You are now moving in unspoken word. Okay, here we go. So a lot of you may be facing those types of realizations that are coming out in the Tower card, but a lot of people are receiving justice. And I want to be very open, very honest, very clear, as I always am here. This is where you guys are realizing how much more the planetary structures and the alignments of the planets and the moons actually affect what's going on in our world. Everything has already been written in the stars. If you pay attention to the stars, you can actually pay attention to the things that are going on around you, and it all makes sense. So there are some very big conjunctions that have occurred if you do not know that. And some of the big conjunctions are Taurus and Jupiter going direct in Taurus. Taurus rules money. Taurus rules legacy. Taurus rules your business. But then it's also Venus, right? So then you have the aspect of Venus in that aspect, which is about what you hold sacred, about your passions, about your destinies, about your delights. That's that love and war mentality, right? That's kind of like that 70s mentality. What are you willing to fight for? What are you willing to let go of? You know, it's almost that freedom that's coming out in that aspect. So these are some planets that are very big that have gone direct, and this is why the stars are literally aligned for people to come into blessings. Because it's literally aligned in that way for blessings and abundance and fortune and no miss events is what was just said. So pay attention to what is going on in those aspects and how it's affecting you in that progress. What I was just talking about, the blessings. You got the 9 of coins that comes out here. I love when the cards back up what you're saying, because that is how you know it's coming in true authenticity. Because what I'm channeling and what I speak literally comes then out in the cards after that. So it's beautiful to have that aspect there. All right. This is where it's like what they just said is you will no longer be treated meek. Okay. You will no longer be treated meek. They just showed me this cloak and this cover coming off of you. Like, many of you are the sages. Many of you are the sages is what they're showing me from the old ways and the old plays. And many of you are scroll writers and script writers. And this is why we have a lot of writers and a lot of people that write and a lot of people that channel by writing and then a lot of people that channel the light and stuff like that because they're scroll keepers. And in that aspect, they're telling me that you are the sages, and now the sages have come out to collect the wages is what was just said. So that's also telling me that you are serving up people's karma. Not only are you serving up people's karma, not only are you serving up people's karma, but you're also blessing them at the same time because you're bringing them to realizations okay, and opening their third eye. I hope that makes sense. So there's always duality in what you're doing in that aspect, especially with the universe, and you had to learn how to activate that in your own light body and be in flow. When they say to just be, you're like, well, this is boring. And it's like, no, just be in flow. Do what you feel you need to do. Because a lot of us shut out that feeling aspect. So now we've had to learn how to retrain our emotions, okay, and what they truly mean and how those feelings show up so that we could master our intuitive awareness, to master our psychic abilities, to know who, what, where, when, why, and how. And so it's like this mastering of this activation that's come in, which is allowing you to be in flow, to no longer question, to no longer to have to know, to no longer have to be in control of the show is what was just said. This is where you have come into that state. Like, look at this, man. She's like in blissful peace. She's not even realizing how many opportunities or how many coins are about to drop on top of her, yo. She's blind to how many coins are and opportunities and abundances are going to drop on her. She's just in peace. She's just in fluid flow. And that's the art of just being, okay? It's universal flow in contrast, okay? A lot of you had to learn how to play make believe again, but in a spiritual way is what was just said. A lot of you had to learn. I can't even repeat it. I can't even repeat it. I'm not going to repeat it because I can't even repeat it. I don't even know what the fuck was just said. Thank you. In that aspect, I just know that a lot of you had to relearn how to use your imagination to be able to connect to spirit in the way that spirit moves, in the way that spirit speaks. Thank you for that audible. All right, they just threw me an audible, Jay. Like, here, audible. And I'm like, thank you for wrapping that up in that way because it was a total energy that just flew in and spoke through me. I was like, somebody throw me a bone. And they're like, audible. And I'm like, yes, I hear you. All right, so I apologize about that. That's fucking hilarious. I love my team, man. Blessings, man. Blessed. Fucking blessed. So in this aspect, I'm telling you that you don't have anything to necessarily worry about. There needs to be no worry. That was one of the sheddings of understanding what it is to be in universal flow and to just be in receiving. So I feel like a lot of you were in receiving mode, but there's also this call to action because you understand that faith without works is dead. You understand that faith without works is dead. So there's like... Okay. There will be this action upon you. There will be this action upon you. But it's not going to be forced through. You're not going to have to fight. It will just fit. It's just going to fit. I also feel like they're taking me back to the vision that they gave me of the cloaking and the uncloaking of the sages. Not only are the sages, which are you, which are here to collect your wages, because now it's time for the universe to reciprocate to the depth of the level of the work that you've done with the universe, within yourself, and now it's time to have fun. And so that's exactly what was just said. So they took me back to the sages. So a lot of you are going to be uncloaking yourselves. A lot of you are going to be putting your face out there. A lot of you are going to... When we say speak our truth, it doesn't mean speaking about all the bullshit and all the trauma that we fucking went through. It's talking about being in that Queen of Swords energy, not giving a fuck about what anybody's opinion or outside energy is, just doing exactly what you know is coming through and what you're supposed to do. That's what it means to speak your truth. It doesn't mean that you revisit and dredge up and continue to talk about all the bullshit, because we're past that. We all know that we all been through some shit. If you want to dig into the dirty layers and know somebody's story, why don't you just fucking ask them, is what's being said. But in that context, it's like, we don't need to revisit that shit no more. You've done enough digressing, is what was just said. So this is also what's allowing the blessings to come in here too, is what they're showing me. It's all anew, and that is the stars lining up for you, is what was just said as well. Dude, the moon and reflections. Now, to me, there's a couple contexts. I'm going to tell you what the moon card means to me, but I'm also going to give you the message and what's being delivered here. I hear you. Give me a minute. Yeah, my ear is nice and hot. Thank you. In this context, the moon card means that you have sat and revisited some things that were not working for you. You also revisited, thank you. Okay, this is God coming through. Excuse me. You realized that it was God doing everything for you, not anything happening to you to mold you and shape you into the destiny of the foot tracks that needed to be traced to lead you where you needed to be. My apologies, but some of you were stubborn as shit, and we had to get you to remember because you forgot. And so some of us had to go through the unleashing of the generations and the unleashing of families that we were just naturally born into to come help those lineages relieve that stuff of those ancestral traumas so we could bring as many as we could. And so it's almost like God's apology is this is huge. It's like God, it's not about victimization and it's not about martyrism. It's like you're coming correct to the creator. And it's like, it's not about how much you've been through or how much trauma or how much whatever. It's literally God saying that I weighed your heart and I saw what was true. I also saw the divinity and the devotion inside of you, okay, which was literally the devotion to yourself, the devotion to the creator, okay. In one context or another, this is where the creator is dope as fuck. It's like, I know that you guys like didn't like me. It's like because of the personification and because of the religious trauma that a lot of you went through and the propaganda that they made the creator out to be. And so a lot of that the creator understands that you had to work through and go through, but now it's coming back to the realizations of what God truly is. And so it's like, this is part of you realizing, hey, God, I'm not a victim. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm to be of service. I'm ready to step into my destiny and show me what it is that you need me to be so that I can be 100% authenticity like you, because authenticity is at the highest vibration, and you are learning how to allow the creator to speak and work through you in your devotion and in your divination. A lot of you are prophets. A lot of you are speakers. A lot of you are keepers of the scrolls and of the tribes. And so this is why the call of action is becoming, but you're seeing it as your demise. And so this is the reflection of the moon card, okay? This is huge. This is the reflection of the moon card, and the reflection of that was the message of the moon card. But my understanding of the moon card too is that you're doing something different that you've never done before, that's new to you. And that's the difference here with the moon card. When the fuck does a lobster come out of water unless it's dead? This lobster ain't dead. This lobster is about to go through the strongest pillars. Like it's like you had to the pillars of Solomon had to be torn down around you in order to rebuild your pillars of what was authentic and true. And so this is like both sides of you right here, masculine, feminine energy coming together, okay? In that spiritual, they're almost showing me the Temperance card when I hold that up and see that. So they're showing me the Temperance card in my mind's eye, where it's like a restructure, a rebalance, learning how to turn nothing into something. And a lot of you didn't know how to turn nothing into something till you sat with yourselves, is what was just said. A lot of you blamed God for shit when you had to learn that it was nearly you making your own bed. Ooh.
Damn. Preach.
Woo! I'm telling you, man, it just comes in and it just whoop, boop. I'm telling you, woo! Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out, bring them out. That's the King of Coins right there, baby. That's God all the way. That was God speaking to you. Woo! Well, it was God. That was nothing but God. Thank you. And one of my team just said Jesus, too. I was like, all right, man. Here we go. This, dude. This is painful, too. This is painful, dude. This is, woo! A lot of you wanted justice in places and in spaces where justice was not needed to be served because you were the one that needed to take accountability for what you heard. So like some of you were misled and some of you assumed on people and on names around you because of something you heard. So you made your own bed. So that's justice being served, baby. This is the Knight of Coins. The Knight of Coins is where you're unstable, you're excessive, you're all over the place. This is not a balanced figure in the deck. When we have the Knights come out, it is in excess. So you are excessively trying to balance every aspect, and you're trying to literally sit here and fight through a space. I'm telling you, when you come up against God's chosen, man, you're going to get your karma served too. For those of you that sat back and just allowed them to attack you and you knew what was going on the entire time, I want you to know that justice is being served on behalf of you. And the Knight of Coins is your ancestors that are coming through excessively, delivering karma in every aspect of these people's lives where they ought to be. Your ancestors truly did not want to deliver karma and demise because these people have lives, these people have children, these people have things they need to live too. But God gave the okay to see through because every single one of your hearts was weighed. God does not judge, God weighs your heart through your intentions and through the new starts is what was just said. Well, you're packing with the punch. I'm going to leave this king out. That's a huge representation. A lot of you had to learn to take accountability for things that you said, things that you did, because of the ways and the facts that you were misled. Regardless if it was because of parental figures, society figures, teachers, friends, it didn't matter. You had to come back and realize that you were just part of the chatter and the clatter. The Knight of Swords. This is how a lot of you came out of that cycle because this is a new contract. This is a new timeline. This is a new. And so a lot of you don't act like that anymore. You came from that. That's why you can see that in others. That's why you're, that's cute. That's why your nickname was Trouble, okay? Is because people could see that energy through you. But at the same time, they knew that you were going to pull through. They knew that you may be living in your lower Dantians, but your team knew that you were going to pull through. This is the aspect of the King of Swords, or the Knight of Swords, of that truth, that excessive bombshell truth that you're going through in the reflections. Whether it was about the way that you gave too much, or the way that people treated you, or the way that you felt entrapped by your own self because you enslaved you, is what was just said. All of those realizations cannot go with you into the new, where God is leading you to your prophetic destiny.